Yeah, you really showed them, girl. You really showed the patriarchy by shaving your head.
Bruh.
You think that your right to unalive your unborn child is more important than saving the lives of the innocent in Palestine. You think that your right to an abortion is more important than ending the war between Palestine and Israel. I'm so sorry that it has become such an inconvenience for you to unalive your unborn child, but we survived as a nation and thrived as a nation for a long time without being taxed on every dollar that comes out of our asshole. We can all be proud of who we are, regardless of if we're white, black, gay, or straight. Hey guys, what is up and welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, we discuss all things culture and politics, and in today's video, that's right, you guessed it, we are going to be reacting to some of the insane meltdowns that liberals are having all across the internet because Donald Trump won. The liberals cannot handle Donald Trump's victory, and they certainly cannot handle the fact that people like you and me actually voted him in. Not only did Trump just win the presidency, he won by a landslide, okay? And the liberals, they aren't reacting well. But before we get into it, please give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you feel so inclined. You don't have to, but you should. And be sure to follow my TikTok in the description down below. And with all of that out of the way, let's get into the mess, shall we? Okay. All right. First up on the docket of offenders, yeah, you really showed them, girl. You really showed the patriarchy by shaving your head.
Bruh.
If you guys aren't familiar with the 4B movement, which I'm sure you are, essentially modern women, they decided that they're going to shave their heads and that they're going on an SEX strike. If you decided that you were going to go on an SEX strike, you probably could have just shaved your head and left it at that, but it's truly just so insane to me how self-absorbed, selfish, and just narcissistic modern liberal women are. They only think about themselves, but then they mask it as though it's like about something bigger. They all act like this is like a women's rights thing, but really they're just pissed that they can't go unalive their unborn children anymore. It's not hard to read these people. It's not hard to see through them. And quite frankly, this is exactly why you guys lost the election, because normal, sane people like me, and probably you watching this, we're done. Okay, the people have spoken. We are done. We are done with whatever this is, okay? So you can go and shave your head and make yourself ugly on purpose and believe that you're really doing something, that you're really making a change in the world, but truly all you are is delusional. Naturally, there's been a lot of backlash to this 4B movement. Many women who have had hair loss for legitimate reasons, like women who are cancer patients, women who have alopecia, are coming forward and putting these liberal women in their places, as they should be, telling them how insanely offensive it is to just be shaving your head like this over a very trivial reason, to be honest. And we haven't heard anything from the bald liberal woman since. So, truthfully though, you guys, just the modern liberal female archetype is just so tired. I don't know about you guys, but I am just so tired of women constantly victimizing themselves. You guys should be happy that Donald Trump got into office, because all these modern women do is complain about everything. They don't want to work. They don't want to do anything. They just want to be taken care of by daddy government. Well, that's never gonna happen, sweetheart. The communist dream that you have is never gonna happen. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, let me explain to you why you should be happy that Donald Trump got into office. It's the same women who go and shave their head that definitely have a watermelon or two in their bio. If you don't know what the watermelon is, it's the watermelon emoji that many people put in their bio, in their name, on social media profiles to signal that they are in solidarity with Palestine. The same women who go and shave their head and post videos like this, talking about how they're in the 4B movement, this and that, are the same women who definitely have 5 watermelons in their bio. Since Donald Trump got elected, Hamas has called for a ceasefire. That's a good thing. If that doesn't show you that electing Donald Trump was the correct choice, then I don't know what will. But since all of you guys care that you claim about genocide so much, shouldn't you be happy that Hamas just called for a ceasefire and that the war is going to end? Shouldn't you be happy about that? And you can thank Donald Trump for that, because just his mere presence being elected into the White House was enough to make Hamas say, you know what, never mind. But no, instead, they continue to have meltdowns. They continue to be personally upset that they can't just go unalive their unborn children at their earliest convenience and then mask it as women's rights. This is what I'm hearing out of that. You think that your right to unalive your unborn child is more important than saving the lives of the innocent in Palestine. You think that your right to an abortion is more important than ending the war between Palestine and Israel. So if you care so much about women's rights, wouldn't you care about the women in Palestine who are losing their lives every 3 seconds? Wouldn't you care about those women in Palestine who have to shed tears and feel sorrow that you will never understand as they watch their children get blown to smithereens in the war? Oh, I forgot. Modern liberal women only care about themselves. And that is so obvious and evidenced by this 4B movement. Anyways, next. Thinking that Canada equals freedom. Please. Canada is an effing nightmare right now, okay? Justin Trudeau and his whole cabal of cronies are even worse than they are here in the States. I feel like people like this are either gonna have a rude awakening by fleeing to Canada, or they'll fit right in. Yes, they will, because Canada largely is a bunch of people, and at least their government is people just like this, okay? Just like this. So you can have your liberal utopia. Go ahead. Please don't let the door hit you on your way out. I also find it so hilarious because Canada, unlike the United States of America right now, actually cares very much about having a super secure border. I know that you privileged Americans are used to and often encourage having wide open borders, but other countries don't do that. That's kind of what defines us as being a country, is having borders. Bruh. So y'all are in for a rude awakening as you try to immigrate into Canada. But seriously, it is just so insanely dramatic. I cannot take it. Can somebody please explain to me what rights anybody has lost because Donald Trump is going to be the president? It is seriously so tired, so delusional, so out of touch to still believe in 2024 that Donald Trump is a racist or a homophobe or that his main agenda is to take rights away from gay people, women, black people, anyone for that matter. Like, please get off the internet for a second and go touch some grass, because I promise you, nobody is losing any rights, okay? Like, you actually have to be so ignorant to believe that. In fact, at this point, many people on the right actually are disappointed with Trump because they believe that he's become a centrist. Donald Trump at some point in his campaign decided that he wanted to be a unifier rather than stake himself as a more right-wing pundit. And while I tend to lean much more conservative and would rather have Donald Trump lean more conservative, I'm honestly okay with that because I can't take people like this anymore. I can't take people like this anymore, and I wouldn't mind our country kind of just coming together and being unified, even if it's just momentarily. But I promise you, Donald Trump, he's not taking away any women's rights. He has said countless times he was in favor of abortion being brought back to the States, which honestly, up until a few years ago, was kind of the general consensus. It wasn't even that long ago when both Democrats and Republicans agreed that abortion should be returned to the power of the states. And beyond that, Trump has said he has no further plans to do anything involving abortion. Melania Trump literally came out and talked about how she is pro-choice. Trump has also stated many times that he believes in the 3 exceptions, and all the hysteria about, these women thinking that they're going to somehow become one of these, literally 1% chances. The amount of abortion cases that happen that are because of one of the 3 general exceptions are so slim that it's highly unlikely that most women will ever be in that situation. And quite frankly, if they are, it's probably because we've let millions of illegal immigrants in here who do not respect women at all. It's no surprise that the media constantly drums up and exaggerates these stories about women not being able to get abortions and being unalived because of it. But the truth is, most of those stories have been fact-checked, and it has actually turned out to just be malpractice by the doctor. Nonetheless, abortion is back at the states, and that's where Donald Trump wants to leave it. Beyond that, Trump is not going to take away your right to birth control. You are not going to be criminalized for having a miscarriage. This insane made-up hysteria has to stop. None of that is happening. You guys sound crazy. If you live in a state where abortion isn't easily accessible, you might just have to cross state lines to go get one. My gosh. So sorry. Bruh. I'm so sorry that it has become such an inconvenience for you to unalive your unborn child, but that is just where it's at right now. And I do believe that abortion is just one of those things that has gotten so out of control. Women use it as a form of birth control. Having an abortion is a serious decision. You cannot deny the fact that you are taking a life, okay? And whether or not you end up doing that, that is just what it is, and you need to think about that before you do it. But I digress. As for gay rights, when has Trump ever said that he was going to take away gay marriage or take away gay rights? All he said was, no, actually, we are not going to continue to let poor innocent children have their bodies mutilated because they are brainwashed by our corrupt school system that they might be the opposite gender. Hurrah! And if you seriously disagree with that, there is something wrong with you, not us. Beyond that, I don't know what you think Trump is going to do in regards to gay rights. What do you think he's going to take away? Okay, Trump literally hosted a gay wedding at Mar-a-Lago not too long ago. Trump is not the, far-right demon that you think he is, and that a lot of people on the right honestly wish he was. I don't know where people are getting this idea that Donald Trump is going to just strip everybody of rights. I wonder where they got that idea from. Kamala, I'm looking at you. But it's not going to happen. So you don't have to flee to communist Canada. Calm down. Touch grass. Anyways, moving on.
Once again, as an Arab Muslim woman, me and other creators are put in a very difficult position where we're either way. Damned if you voted for him, damned if you voted for her, no matter what. There's so many Arabs and Muslims that are Trumpies, and it's very disappointing. Apparently, it's very clear to you guys I'm not one of them, and because of that, I've been losing a lot of my Arab American followers.
Why would it be disappointing that Arabs voted for Trump, considering that Hamas just called for a ceasefire? Isn't that what you would want as an Arab? Haram! Don't get me wrong. I am not for Trump's Zionist arc, if you will. I am not for that at all. I don't believe in the Zionist thing. I do not support us having foreign governments entangled in all of our affairs. That is so wrong, and I disagree with that. And to be honest with you, I disagree with what Israel is doing. I know that as Christians, bless Israel and Israel will bless you. Okay, well, nowhere in the Bible does it say that Israel equals Bibi Netanyahu. At the end of the day, Trump getting elected has stopped a major part of this conflict, and I think you should actually be grateful that those Arab Americans voted for Trump, because that is a massive step in the right direction.
And it's really sad to see the treatment that was going on after the election to me, the DMs I was getting from people who once supported me all over that orange orangutan. You really think he's going to save you, but I digress. No matter who's president, if you're broke, you're going to stay broke. All right, let's just make one thing clear. I also feel like there are just so many topics as a woman who not reproductively blessed, for lack of better terms, and if I ever decide to start a family, IVF or surrogacy would be my best choice. If I carried a baby to term, it most likely would risk my health and like my life. So, you know, just the thought of a unwanted pregnancy scares me, and having these like Muslim Trumpies in my DMs saying, just leave it to God, Habibti, like Allah won't let you die to bring a baby into this world. Like, are you joking? Like, are you joking? Are you?
Dude, again, I am so sick of this. Like, first off, Trump was all over the IVF thing, this campaign. I think we all know that. I don't need to get into that, but he couldn't have made it more clear. He wants insurance companies to cover IVF. So you can say, thank you, Trump. Again, thank you, Daddy Trump. And then, okay, you guys, the abortion thing is just insane. There is no hospital, doctor's office, whatever in this country that will not protect the woman's life over the baby. Okay, that is just not happening. And in the very, 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 very rare case that it does, it's not because of the law. It's certainly not because of Trump. It's because of medical malpractice. Really tired of this narrative getting thrown around. Like, it's actually just really frightening that people believe this. You know, it really is. She doesn't even realize that all of these things that she cares about, Trump was for. Really sad how misinformed people are.
I also have my mother who has pre-existing conditions because she had open heart surgery due to a heart defect that she never knew she had until recently. So it really like extended her life, but because she's had that surgery, she's considered to have pre-existing conditions, and now already without this conservative administration, she gets denied health insurance left and right because she's considered risky, which is really upsetting to think if something could happen to her, it's going to be hard to get her help, and it's going to also cost us a fortune, especially with the tariffs coming in and how the tariffs are going to impact the import of like medical care and essentials and things like that and medicine. So it's really stressful, I think.
The whole tariff conversation. Now, I don't know Trump's precise plan on tariffs, but if you actually think that Trump is going to tariff medical products and pharmaceuticals, things like that, why would he do that? Just because Trump wants to impose tariffs on some things that honestly should be tariff doesn't mean that he's going to put tariffs on every single thing that comes into the United States of America. Come on, you guys. This isn't hard. I swear, people do not realize for like the first 200 years of this country, we didn't have taxes. No, we didn't. We allowed taxes to come through back in the 30s for whatever bullshit reason they made up. The problem is, this is why you can't give governments an inch, because power will corrupt these people. Greed always corrupts these people. Income tax was not always a thing. We survived as a nation and thrived as a nation for a long time without being taxed on every dollar that comes out of our asshole. Taxation is theft, point blank, period. That is like so much of the reason that this country was founded and that the Constitution was drafted the way it was. Taxes have just been so normalized, and people have been so gaslit into thinking that that is the only way the government can run is with our taxes, is by stealing our hard-earned money. That is actually just sad. Like, stop. Just stop, okay? I just don't understand why people like being abused by our government so much. Why do you condone these terrible people, this ruling elite and cabal of people in Washington stealing half of our money? Like, maybe you're okay with that, but guess what? Me and like tons of other people are not. So if you want to contribute half of the money that you earn to the government, be my guest. But guess what? I don't want to do that anymore. We should be manufacturing a lot of things here in America that would help the economy. And I'm just so tired of everyone having this mass hysteria about the tariffs. You guys, it is not a foreign concept. Trump used tariffs in his last administration. Like, this is not that foreign of a concept. We should eliminate taxes, period. There should be no income tax. Boom, done. Why is it even a conversation? God.
I want to feel a part of the Trump club, right? Like, you guys just want to feel white and rich, right? Like, at the end of the day, that strokes your ego a bit to vote for him because it makes you feel white and fucking rich.
What are you even talking about? Literally, what are you talking about? To some extent, I do agree with what she said earlier about despite the economy, you have to make money. And if you're going to be broke, you're going to be broke probably either way. I agree because I do believe that being broke is a lifestyle. But the white thing is insane. It's just insane. This is why you guys lost the election. We are so tired. We are all tired. And it is not just white people, honey. We are done with the identity politics. All of us, we're doing better under Trump financially. So even if it doesn't make or break us financially, why wouldn't you want to have more money in your pocket? At the very least, if nothing else, out of this Trump presidency, we won't be starving anymore. We won't be living paycheck to paycheck anymore. And that is something to celebrate and be happy about. It is so privileged and easy for all of these people to just act like all of these other issues are more important than how badly so many of us, the average American, is suffering right now. My generation will not be homeowners for the first time in decades. Our generation will not primarily be homeowners. And it's just really unfortunate that people would rather prioritize these make-believe ideas as more important than the cold hard truth, which is the fact that we're all poor right now because inflation is through the roof because Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and the deep state wanted to use our money from taxes, like we just talked about, to fund wars. Meaningless wars all over the world.
And I'm not saying like Kamala was perfect in any sort of way, but was she a better bet? Also, being a small business owner who imports perfumes, because my perfumes are made in Gras and the UAE.
I literally don't know how you actually have to be a little bit stupid to believe that Kamala Harris would have been a better president. As an Arab woman, you should understand. Hurrah! You should understand then. A lot of these Arab countries and just other countries around the world would not deal well with the woman president. No, they would not. Okay, like be for real.
That tariff is gonna hit me, but guess who's increasing prices? All the companies that are getting hit with tariffs. I don't want to increase my prices, but if that's what's going to happen, I have to. I have no choice. A 20% hit is huge. But you guys didn't know that that's how tariffs work, right? You guys didn't know that, like, the importer, the person bringing it in, the American company bringing it in, has to pay for the tax.
I can't do this anymore. I can't listen to this anymore. I actually really like this creator. I actually really like her perfumes, but just the absolute misinformed takes. Just so misinformed. It's actually just a selfish thought because people just won't buy your perfumes then, period. People don't need your perfumes to survive. But you know what we do need? Electricity, okay? We need food on our tables and we can't afford any of that right now. And had Kamala Harris got elected as president, we certainly wouldn't be able to afford your perfumes then. I'm sorry, it's not an essential good. And the only person it really affects at the end of the day is you. Trump is good for small business. And I cannot believe how so many people are just convinced that there's going to be tariffs on everything. When and if Trump gets in, because I am not convinced that he is going to make it into the White House. And if he does make it into the White House, I will be side-eyeing him. If Trump really is a person that he represents, then they're not going to let him in there. They're not just going to let him in there without a fight. And if he does get in there and they do let him in there, then I think he has sold us out in some way, in one way or another. And in my opinion, I could see that he just sold us out to the Zionists. And to be honest with you, I don't care right now. I'm okay with Trump getting our economy back on track, weeding out these useless bureaucrats, instilling the fear of God into people and into these elitists. We can deal with the Israel lobby and the Zionism later. But right now, truthfully, people cannot afford to live, and we need to get back on track before we can even think about having the Israel conversation and actually dealing with that. And I just feel like people aren't getting that. They aren't getting that. So to me, either way, it's a win-win. But, you know, Donald Trump was president before, okay? And it was one of the best economies America has ever seen. How quickly y'all forget. Trump
is president now, and if there's one thing that this election has taught me, it is that I will be doing nothing to stimulate his economy. I've been on a no-buy for the better part of a year, and I need you to understand that I will be doing this for another 4 years. I will make a point to stimulate every single economy besides Trump's. As long as that man is president, I will not be shopping on US soil. I will not be buying from American companies. I will literally only shop when I'm abroad. That said, my anxiety from this election is at about a 40, and I have done so much retail therapy today, it's not even funny.
How selfish and privileged of you. These stupid liberals, they are so stupid. They're just such hypocrites, dude. They can't, it's like they say words and don't even realize what they're saying. So you liberals, you guys care so much about minorities. You guys care so much about the black people and the women and the gays until it affects you, right? So you would rather contribute to not stimulating our economy so everybody can suffer just so what, you can make a point?
Bruh.
If you actually cared about minorities and just the general well-being of human society as a whole, then you would want to contribute to the economy because you would want people to thrive regardless of who's president. It's actually sickening. And these people tell on themselves every time they tell on themselves. Some of us just can't afford to keep living in the economy that we're living in. What don't you people understand about that? This is why you lost, because you people are the privileged people of America. And you guys always want to sit there and talk about privilege, right? But it's you are the ones who have it and you weaponize it. Every time you guys weaponize your privilege and you don't even realize it. So just because, I'm sorry, what, you can't unalive your unborn babies, and just because you've been brainwashed to believe that Trump is racist and homophobic and bigoted when he's not, you would rather have people just suffer? So you would just rather be a contributing factor into the general failure of the American economy, which then in turns means people will be struggling a lot financially. So you would rather contribute to that than just get over the fact that you can't unalive your unborn children whenever and however much you want to. You people are diabolical and sick. Y'all need to find Jesus for real.
But just know that I will be stimulating the out of the Parisian economy this week. Not only that, I am now certain that I need to move here as soon as my debt is gone. I met up with a friend from Philly tonight in Paris, and they told me about their amazing career and opportunities that they've had here in Paris. Granted, the salaries are way less than in America, but you know what? The quality of life and the cost of living is also lower. Admittedly, the French are also having their own issues with right-wingers. But if there's one thing that I've realized, it's that I will be doing all to contribute to that orange buffoon's economy. That man can never say, my economy's so big, it's so huge, we have the best economy ever when I'm president. Categorically false information. And he will not have a huge economy if I have anything to say about it. If you'd told 14-year-old me that in 20 years she would have to seriously consider emigrating out of the United States, she would have called you crazy. But here we are. I am done with the hate. I am done with the fear-mongering. And while nationalism is on the rise globally, it is nowhere near as bad as it is in America right now. Except for if you live under like Putin or Orban or Erdogan. America's a third world country in a Gucci belt, so let's treat
I literally can't, you guys. I can't. What an actual idiot! If you're worried about nationalism, you are in for a massive surprise when you move to France, sweetheart. And by the way, unlike America, you can't just move wherever you want to. You know, I know people like you don't seem to care about the fact that literally anybody in the world can just come into our country and live here now. But, you know, other countries don't do that, right? You would just think at some point that these idiots would realize how privileged they are, that there are millions of people risking their lives to come into this country right now while they can. Does that not signal to you that maybe you've already hit the effing lottery by being born here? You privileged, miserable, feminist women. I can't stand them. And I hate to break it to you. I know you think you're making some big point right now by not contributing to Trump's economy, but you can't do anything about it, all right? You're not so special that you can be the deciding factor of if Trump's economy thrives or not. You know why? Because Trump's economy is going to thrive either way. And if there is one thing that Trump can say, it's, yeah, he has the best economy and he always will. You people are so insufferable. They're insufferable. I just, these people take a lot out of me. They really do, because they are everything that they claim that they aren't, right? They claim that they are allies and they care so much about everybody. They just care about humans so much. They just tell on themselves every single time. Like, you guys are all horrible people. Like, straight up, you don't care about anything or anyone but yourself. And it is so obvious. Every single time politics or culture comes about in conversations with so many of these liberal people, it's just so obvious how narcissistic they truly are. You should want the economy and everybody in your country to thrive regardless of who is president. regardless of if the president in office is who you voted for or not. And you know what? Nationalism is a great thing. In fact, the French are some of the most nationalist people on the planet, and there is nothing wrong with that. If you seriously are still trying to demonize nationalism in 2024, you're slow, you're behind. Catch up. Everybody else can be proud of who they are except for white people. God forbid. God forbid. Just like black people or gay people or Mexican people don't choose what type of ethnicity or nationality they are, white people don't either. Wow, did you guys know that? Like, we're in first grade again. Did you know nobody gets to choose what skin color they are? Did you know that nobody gets to choose their ethnicity? Bruh. We can all be proud of who we are, regardless of if we're white, black, gay, or straight. Next.
I'm just gonna say one last thing about this election. That's a lie. But the creators on here, you know, I don't have tens of millions of followers, but I thought maybe if I was vocal about the things I believed in, if we talked about nuances, if we talked about fighting for one another, speaking up for one another, sharing resources, perhaps people who were nervous about doing that would do the same. And now I'm going online and I'm seeing people say, I never get political. I just never thought this would happen. Where were you? Where were you?
If you're getting your political advice from influencers who shill you cheap Amazon links and makeup, you are an idiot. This is why the Repeal 19 idea is so popular right now. Because you guys do stupid stuff like this. Why do you guys have to prove that idea right? Why do you have to do that as women? Not to mention, it doesn't matter if you guys gaslit all of the popular influencers on TikTok to say, vote for Kamala, guys. That wouldn't have changed the results of the election. Can you guys just get over it? Trump won. Trump won by a landslide. These influencers are just so painfully out of touch. Yeah, not all of us are, filthy rich and can afford to just spend money on Louis bags and be privileged enough to worry about women's rights. Y'all need to just get real, okay? The average American knows what's up, all right? Because we actually live in reality. And the best solution for the reality that you liberals put us in is Donald Trump.
Why? Because you didn't want to lose followers? Followers?
I can't. Let's walk through this for a minute. The only people who are going to lose followers for sharing their political views are those who decided to talk about how they were going to vote for Trump. I am so sick of this societal expectation that you just are a Democrat. And if you are anything but a Democrat who kisses the government's ass, then you're automatically an evil, racist, homophobic, bigoted person. That is just not the reality as seen by the election results. And just because you don't support this Satanist, elitist, Democratic cabal does not mean that you're a bad person. And to gaslight as though if you were to share your political views and your political views were those of Kamala Harris, that you were going to get canceled for that. You guys are seriously so delusional. Nobody cared throughout this entire election if somebody supported Kamala. That was the generally societally acceptable thing was to say, oh, I'm voting for Kamala. You would not lose any followers over that. So to act like that's the reason why people weren't saying to vote for Kamala is so stupid. The reality is these big influencers who are scared to share their political views, they just didn't want to say that they were going to vote for Trump because people like you, Miss Hello Teffy, would tell them that they're an evil racist. It's actually nobody's business who anybody is voting for. I choose to talk about politics and culture because I want to, but I am by no means required to do so. If Alex Earl or some other big influencer doesn't want to share who they're voting for, they don't have to. The demands that people have these days politically they're truly insane. I do believe that you need to pick a side. You need to pick a side because right now we are fighting between good and evil. Okay, and it's not hard to figure out which side is good and which side is evil. Personally, you need to pick a side and you need to stand firm on your morals and your convictions. But that does not mean that you have to be so vocal about them to everyone. You don't. And it is a ridiculous societal expectation that has only started happening. These miserable feminist women, just get over it. You don't get to get everything you want. Sorry, you didn't get your way for once. Welcome to reality.
out of all the things that could happen, you would lose followers, you'd get some nasty comments. I have to work on not responding anymore, but I'm working on it. I'm working on choosing peace. But what a privilege. What a privilege to not want to get political.
What a privilege. Really? What a privilege to be brainwashed by the liberal elite and not have to care about how much money you're taking in and not have to care about keeping your light bill on and not having to care about putting food on the table for your family and to not have to care to actually maybe be able to own a home one day. What a privilege.
There's nobody you know that doesn't look like you, that doesn't come from where you come from, somebody a little different than you, somebody who's had a different path of life that couldn't use your voice. Nobody you know, nobody around you that you look at and you truly worry for. Nobody. Not even, I come from Miami where it was not abnormal to have a new kid in class on a random March morning who didn't speak English, who wasn't in uniform. And it was understood by everyone in that class that their family made a really, really difficult choice. Nobody wants to leave everything they know and a language they speak to come to a new country, hoping they'll find support and community, hoping.
Yes, they do. What are you talking about? Like 20 million of them just did. I'm like, are you kidding me? Nobody wants to. If they didn't want to, then they wouldn't. You guys just need to get over the fact that America is the best country on planet Earth. As corrupt as it is in this current state and all, it is still the best place that you could possibly be. And that is why people risk their lives to come here. Like, what is so hard to understand about that? You guys just have to accept the fact that you really don't have any excuse to be a loser in life. I know you guys want to be victims so bad because that's what liberalism tells you. It tells you that the bigger victim you are, the more valuable you are to society. But that's a lie. And people who've actually struggled in life understand that. You can't gaslight. You might be able to gaslight yourself into believing that you're a victim by being so privileged to live in the United States of America, but the rest of us aren't buying it, hun. We're not buying it. And it's getting to a point now where people are really getting tired of it. It's so rich when these influencers who are raking in money just want to sit there and lecture you about privilege. Okay. Yeah. Make that make sense. Please just save it. Just save it with the privilege talk. Sorry guys, my light died. We're just gonna keep it that way. I don't have much left, so. So the last few videos I have for you guys are some mainstream media reactions to Donald Trump's victory.
Do you believe that the Democrats need to look at why they lost and change?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't think that that's what I disagree with. I think that anytime there's a loss like this, of this magnitude, it requires you to kind of go back and figure out what you did wrong. So I absolutely agree with that. What I disagree with is this notion that Democrats have just completely abandoned the working class. I mean, it's just not true. It's fundamentally not true. I also want to say really quickly, I am deeply hesitant to have this conversation about what's wrong with the candidates or the messaging until we have a real conversation about what's wrong with America.
So first of all, blaming the American...
It's not that you guys had a terrible candidate. No, it's not that. It's our fault. It's always our fault. Yet again, it's the American people's fault. It's our fault that we don't want to keep going along with your game, that we don't want to keep slaving away, working our asses off day in and night so that you guys can continue to just steal half of our money from us, gaslight us into thinking that we're horrible people and we're racist and we're bigots. How dare we not elect Kamala Harris into office? Don't you know that the Washington elite and the mainstream propaganda, don't you guys know that they need to keep their shtick going? How dare we not keep lining their pockets? How dare we not allow them to keep abusing us? Because that's what this is. You realize that, right? That is what this dynamic is between our government and us. We are in an abusive relationship with our government, okay? And unfortunately, a lot of you are still being blinded by it. You're still in the thick of it. You guys are still making excuses for your abuser. You still believe that they love you and they care about you. Well, they don't, okay? The government, the mainstream media, the propaganda, all of it, they hate you. Okay, you are nothing but a measly paycheck to them, and you irritate them. They could give a flying if you live or die. And it is time for a lot of you to wake up and realize that. I'm very proud of America. I've never actually been so proud to be an American as I have been since this Donald Trump victory, because finally, the mass majority of people are waking up and realizing that this is exactly what this dynamic is. And we are sick and tired of being abused by our government and being pushed around. Don't you dare try to blame us for your pathetic loss. You guys put out one of the worst candidates in history. Kamala Harris and her campaign will go down in history as one of the worst candidates and campaigns to ever exist in America. And at some point, you guys are just going to have to accept that. Otherwise, you're never going to win another election again. So honestly, please keep believing these delusions, because I don't ever want another Democrat near the presidential office ever again. Hurrah! Don't you guys realize this is why you lost? It's this toxic gaslighting, and we let our voices be heard. We will not keep allowing you guys to gaslight us like this. That's like in a football game trying to blame the fans for the team losing. We're done with identity politics, okay? We're done with being called bigots, all right? We're done with being called racist and homophobes, and we're done being poor. We are done being bossed around by you psychopaths in Washington. And oh, really? You haven't turned your back on the working class? Then why are we all poor? You guys are a joke. I don't think you guys realize how much these people hate you. You do not have enough vitriol against these people. If they try to stop Donald Trump from getting into office in January, they got another thing coming. That is all I'm going to say. We have Bernie Sanders making a statement about this election. So let's see what he has to say.
Bernie Sanders has not won. Let me, with all due respect, and I have a great deal of respect for him, for what he stands for, but I don't respect him saying that the Democratic Party has abandoned the working class families.
Well, Nancy's
You know, she was going to try to say there that Bernie Sanders hasn't ever won a Democratic primary. Well, that's because you guys stole it from him too. Like, you guys actually think we're just so stupid. We know the games you're playing, and you're just lucky that we keep allowing you to play them. But anyways.
friend of mine, and we've worked together on many issues. But here is the reality. I have to say to Nancy, in the Senate in the last 2 years, we have not even brought forth legislation to raise the minimum wage to a living wage, despite the fact that some 20 million people in this country are working for less than $15 an hour. In America today, we have not brought, in the Senate, we have not brought to the floor the PRO Act to make it easier for workers to join unions. We're not talking about defined benefit pension plans so that our elderly can retire with security. We're not talking about lifting the cap on Social Security so that we can extend the solvency of Social Security and raise benefits. Bottom line, if you're an average working person out there, do you really think that the Democratic Party is going to the mats, taking on powerful special interests and fighting for you? I think the overwhelming answer is no, and that is what has got to change.
Period. Do I agree with some of his prescriptions to the problems that working class families are facing? Absolutely not. But you know what? The general sentiment, yes, Bernie Sanders is one of the only Democrats that has called this entire election for what it is. He is the only one who has accurately described exactly why the American people said, no, we do not want Kamala Harris in office. He's one of the only Democrats that is making any sense right now. These people are so arrogant and so entitled that they actually do believe it's our fault that they didn't win. Bruh. They actually do. They in fact, they despise you and I even more now because we didn't let them win. And their vitriol towards us is only going to get worse. Just wait. They resent the hell out of us right now for not going along with their political game. Last up on the docket.
Yeah, Kato, we've known for days now that RFK Jr. was under consideration by President-elect Trump for a possible major role in the administration. We also know that RFK Jr. has been spending substantial time with Donald Trump, advising him on possible health appointments. But this could also be a long road ahead for Senate confirmation as we've been talking about these more controversial picks. RFK Jr., he has pushed debunked conspiracy theories around a whole range of public health issues, including around vaccines. He's even said said that he would push to remove fluoride for drinking water. He's also a critic of the CDC, and Donald Trump said earlier this year on the campaign trail that he would allow RFK Jr. to, quote, go wild on health. And in his Truth Social post, I just want to read to you part of what Donald Trump said. He said, quote, for too long, Americans have been crushed by the industrial food complex and drug companies who have engaged in deception, misinformation, and disinformation when it comes to public health. Now, it's been quite the journey for RFK Jr. He's a former Democrat. He was running as an independent against Donald Trump. Then earlier this year, he dropped out of the race and formally endorsed the president-elect. But many within RFK Jr.'s family have been deeply critical of him, and they have distanced himself from RFK Jr. He comes from this storied political family. In fact, the day that he decided to drop out and endorse Donald Trump, his family said Bobby's decision to endorse Trump today is a betrayal of the values that our father and our family hold most dear. But now RFK Jr. set up to have a major role in Donald Trump's cabinet. He is part of Donald Trump's inner circle. The question now is the road ahead for confirmation.
Do you see how the mainstream media just has to twist everything? Of course they have to report on RFK and mention that he's a conspiracy theorist and an anti-vaxxer. They're just mad that RFK is calling it like it is. And it wouldn't be the mainstream media without them trying to totally twist and defame RFK's character. It wouldn't be the mainstream media without it. And that is exactly why we are all celebrating the death and burial of the mainstream media, okay? The fake news is over and done with. Nobody believes you guys anymore. Your credibility is through the floor. Your credibility is in the seventh ring of hell at this point. We all know your game now. You guys just twist and manipulate information and actually spew misinformation. Like, that is real misinformation. Sorry, the American people are just simply not buying it anymore. And honestly, I am so glad that RFK, I am ecstatic that Trump has RFK in there, because something that I don't know if many people know that I'm really passionate about is health. The entire health industry is so corrupt. It is so much worse than so many people understand. I am so glad that RFK has been the figure that he's been in this presidential campaign cycle, because this is a serious problem that affects every single American in this country, and it's about time that we address it. It's insane how these corporations like Monsanto and some of these big pharma corporations as well, like Pfizer and all of that, what a monopoly they have on the American people. And how they're allowed to just poison us, essentially. They're allowed to just poison us so that they can prescribe us the antidotes. You can see its effects every single day. The obesity rates, the autism rates, the chronic illness rates, the cancer rates, all of it. Like, you guys, this isn't normal. Do you guys really think that people were having these issues, like, to the degree that they were having them 100 years ago? I promise you they weren't. This is all new. And it's all because of the hormones in our foods, the seed oil, it's just all of it. And I seriously couldn't be happier that we have somebody that is going to be in charge of finally restoring Americans' health for real, because that is something that plagues every single American. And I know, for one, I'm really tired of it. So that is all I have for you guys today. I can't even begin to express to you how exhausting this stuff really can get. Like, the liberals just... I'm just so happy. We are so back, baby. We are so back. Trump is back. As exhausting as they are, they're gonna give me content for the next 4 years. So I will be here reacting to all corners of the internet. Let me know your guys' thoughts down in the comments below, and I will see you guys in another video soon. And remember, God bless you and God bless the USA. Bye.